This is the Cal 101 podcast on Cape Atlantic Live. Here's your host, Nick Kosko.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Cal 101 podcast right here on Cape Atlantic Live, presented by Ulmer's Appliance Service. I'm your host, Nick Kosko, and with me is Lower Cape May Regional Head Coach Scott Holden. Coach, appreciate the time. As always, looking forward to seeing your boys on the court this winter. Good season last year, 18-8 on the year, made it to the South Jersey Group 2 playoffs as well, overcame a little adversity as well, but overall great season. Just tell me about the transition from 2023 to now the 23-24 campaign.
First of all, Nick, thank you for having me. It's really great what you're doing for the local community and the CAL. It's great to have this, first time I've done this with you, and I hope it's something that continues as we go. As far as, I just had 3 seniors graduate that started a total of 11 seasons altogether. 4-year starters in Archie Lawler and Jacob Bay. Mike Cronin as well. We lose, some leadership as far as those guys, some height as well. We will definitely be a little deeper this year, and we're definitely a little bit smaller.
When you look at that type of lineup now, you go from the bigger lineup now, but as you just mentioned, a little bit smaller, maybe a little bit quicker, and obviously the depth is probably here this year more so than the previous season. So when you look at that, do you have to make a lot of adjustments in the way you guys play offense and defense, or is it kind of the same thing? You're just relying on more of experience and obviously the depth factor as well?
It's a little bit of both of what you've said. We definitely have to change some things up, whereas before we might really go with a strong half-court, packet-in defense because we had some big guys and things like that. We're going to have to extend it a little bit, get after it. I'm the deepest I've ever been as a coach. In the scrimmages, we've played as many as 12 people, and they all legit deserve to be varsity, players. So I like having the competition for spots. That I think that's helping us a little bit. So going forward, we're really going to push that energy and get after it a little bit.
You just mentioned this is the deepest that you have been in quite some time, if not ever. I believe you're on your 14th season now as the head coach of Lower Cape May. So when you look at that, you look back at your time so far through the high school, all the teams you've had, would you actually say this is your deepest team?
Oh, absolutely. 1 through 12 is the deepest. Usually I'm playing 7 or 8 guys, occasionally 9. But if you look at, if we were to rank players, I'm not really ranking them because those spots change daily. Spots 3 through 8, they're all like the same type of player, same athlete, same type of skill set, same size. It's definitely, we're really stressing focus. So if they're not focused on a box out or something like that, they're coming right out. Not as a punishment, but more as just a reminder.
So you talk about the development this offseason. Again, the depth is there. We can hammer depth all night long. So a couple of the coaches that I've talked to, they mentioned how the AAU programs and all the offseason basketball the kids did on their own with other coaches watching and obviously the respective high school coaches watching from a little bit afar. Did you find your team doing that, or did you see more of your team, do football, obviously play baseball, anything else? What have you encouraged and what have you seen from your athletes leading up from the summer into now the fall and the winter?
It's funny from hearing the other coaches. It is an interesting, what's going on with the CAL and things like that. I find my team to be deeper, more skilled, and I really have to point to the multi-sport athletes. People tell me that lacrosse and basketball are very similar in how you play them. Zones, picks, things like that. I'm just speaking from what they told me. And I have maybe 5 lacrosse players, 4 or 5, a couple guys that play football. Now, you're going back to your question. They did something AAU and stuff like that in the off season as well. Some of these guys that play 3 sports, they're leaving one thing to go to the next, and they might have a 6-day week where they're constantly doing something with a sports team that they're a part of.
So looking ahead to some of the players that you have back this year, I want to highlight two first, and obviously we can add on as we go here. But the Bonner brothers really stick out to me. I know Mackie Bonner was one of your leading scorers last year. Younger brother Ty is only a sophomore now. He got some playing time as a freshman, did contribute as well. What do you expect out of those two guys? I know those are probably the two highlighted guys, from the guard position for the most part. From the outside looking in, I would say.
Mackey will be this will be his fourth year as a starting point guard, and I'm not. He knows this, or the team knows this. You want to play with a guy like Mackie Bonner. He's extremely unselfish, almost to a fault. Sometimes you have to really plead with him to provide some points and offense and things like that. But he's just such a smart athlete as well. One of he's legit. People will say coaches on the floor. I'll send kids in, and he's telling the kid, "You got number this. You switch over here. You got this. You got that." And I'm not even saying anything. And I've never had a player that did that before. So that's quite impressive. Ty, he's going to be a sophomore. His game. We're working on that a lot. He's quite a talented player. I mean, to play, I want to say he had a game last year as a freshman with 20 points or 20 plus points. We want to add to his game and get him to really step up again this year and really push us.
Some of the other guys, I know Braswell Thomas is getting a lot of looks on the football field as well. Kamari Wright is also back. He's a senior, so he's one of those guys that's going to be probably stepping into that leadership role. What can you say about those two guys that are obviously back from last year's roster?
Well, Braswell has decided not to play basketball. I think he really wants to concentrate on what's going on with the football and things like that. And that's understandable. Quite overwhelming for a young person. He may be a junior, but he's still very young, and I think it's been quite overwhelming. And when he's ready to come back, if that's next year or whatever, we'll welcome him for sure. Ari Wright, he's again another experienced starter for several years, and he likes to play defense. He likes to get after it. And the big thing with Ari is his offensive game in the off season has really stepped up to where we need it again to be. So looking forward to that. We've got Ogre Nunez, a three-sport athlete, football, basketball, and lacrosse. he brings energy, and it rubs off on the other guys. And then we have some other young sophomores and two freshmen that are in the top 12 that are right there as well.
So you mentioned that 12-man rotation. Out loud, it sounds kind of crazy to say, even at a high school level. Do you expect all 12 of those guys to continuously play game to game, or there might be some games where maybe you only go about 7 to 9 deep?
I definitely see us playing 9 or 10 quite often. But it's understandable depending on the matchups, depending on the game situation, what's going on. But we're going to try to stick with the model that we've done over the three scrimmages, and keep going with that. If you want to call them hockey shift changes, or it's something like that. They deserve it. I mean, in practice, they're getting after it, and we're challenging them to take other people's minutes. And our practices have been great and very, very competitive.
Scott Holden with me here on Cal One-on-One, presented by Ulmer's Appliance Service on Cape Atlantic Live. Lower Cape May basketball opening up the season this weekend. I'm curious on how you mentioned hockey shifts, and I've never actually really heard a basketball coach use that term before. It's obviously hockey. Those guys are in and out all the time. You have a deep roster, obviously, and depth is your best friend. Depth is your best friend in basketball as well, but going that deep, it's amazing to me. So do you feel like you guys could end up having some sort of advantage over other teams where you could say, all right, the starting five's out, put the next five in, it's a fresh look, and they could hypothetically stay in for, I don't know, let's just say 3 to 5 minutes of a quarter?
So far, I mean, everyone's, level of being ready to play a full basketball game right now is a little, it's a little low, even if they played a fall sport. Basketball, conditioning is different than a lot of other sports. I will have to say that we finished scrimmages stronger than our opponents in every one of the scrimmages we've had. And that might be exactly what you're kind of alluding to. It may be tiring out a team that only fields 6 or 7 guys, where we're constantly fresh and energized.
So looking ahead to this year's schedule, again, everyone could harp on last year. It was a good season for you guys, obviously, not the playoff result that you guys wanted, the first round exit to Medford Tech, tough loss, 56-53. When you look back on that game in particular, and again, I know Archie Lawler was a big piece for you guys. It was out with that season-ending injury. Obviously, he did have a nice senior send-off, if I do remember correctly as well. I believe that was Absagami that helped you guys out with that as well. When you lost a guy like him and you relied on some of the youth and some of your other veterans on that team to fall short, is there some sort of motivational tactic going into this year, especially for the seniors who know they probably, I don't want to say did not leave it all on the court, but there was more to the pie, so to speak, from last year?
We're going to coach the same every year. I did hear Coach Bruno talk about, he hopes the kids are probably thinking that for him. I mean, he went to a South Jersey final. Where you have to be realistic, Group 2 is pretty strong. You got Camden, Haddonfield, the middle's very, very strong again. There's other teams to throw them in and out. Let's just let's do our best, go game by game and see what happens. And, last year we did start off well. We had that injury, and I still thought we played pretty well after that. We ended the season on a downward spiral a little bit, but hopefully we learn from that. And, those guys will learn from that and actually, do something a little bit different this year. But if we're not winning the CAL or winning the state championship, everyone's losing 2 games at the end of the year.
Yeah, absolutely. So when you put it in perspective, it makes it sound, a little bit more attainable. And obviously, again, the coach's cliche, of course, is game by game. So hoping to see what you guys can do, obviously, game to game. I'm curious about the Cape May basketball culture. And the more I talk to other coaches, you have the Atlantic County teams in the Cape Atlantic League, and they have, it's almost like they have their own history compared to the Cape May County part of this entire conference, which has only gotten better over the last 5 to 10 years. And we'll get into that in a second. But you mentioned Middle and how good they've been. They got to the state semifinal last year. They are defending South Jersey champions from just last season. The job that Lamar Greer has done has been obviously fantastic from the outsider's perspective. When you look at, I guess in particular, that rivalry with Middle Township, and then Cape May basketball as a whole, and I feel like it's now getting on the map a little bit more than it used to. Is it just a different dynamic compared to other counties and other parts of the state that you've seen?
Wow, there's a lot to that question. Being that we're a peninsula, Cape, whatever you want to call it, and everybody knows each other. I don't know how much anymore, but back in the day, you would go to Wildwood and the courts would be filled with Wildwood Middle kids. Ocean City kind of stays up on their end of the Cape, but everyone like Lamar and I played against each other in high school, and he was a part of those great Middle Township teams that won 2 state championships. Back then, Wildwood Catholic was a solid team. Lower had a decent little team. So, I mean, it's gone through generations, if you want to call it that. It might be a little bit unique, but I can only speak for down here. And, it's fun. I wouldn't, Middle handles us pretty much all the time in basketball. And hopefully someday we can equal that out a little bit. But, we had a good game with them last year at Lower Cape May, and hey, here's to Lamar. He's doing a great job on South Jersey. Let's see how he got. He has almost everyone back, from what I understand. So, I'm rooting for them. I root for Scotty McCracken and Wildwood. All the guys. Bruno. Williams at Mainland. So when these guys are making a push, and those, the camaraderie amongst the coaches, I think is pretty good. And that's one of the nicest things. So maybe that is unique. I don't know.
When you speak to that camaraderie, and that kind of leads me into my next point about the quality and the depth of the conference as a whole at this point. I've asked every coach this as well, because you go back 5-10 years ago, just based on my estimation, maybe it used to be pretty top heavy. You'd have the top 3 to 5 teams, and only those teams could win the conference and maybe make deep playoff runs. And now it just seems like, as I've alluded to all the coaches, about 9-10 teams out of the entire conference could win the entire conference tournament and make deep playoff runs as well. And, this is not to say that just because you guys went one and done, so to speak, in the playoffs, I think it just speaks to how deep the conference is, and pretty much even the regular season as well. Anybody can beat anybody on any given night, and that's different than it was maybe 5-10 years ago.
Absolutely. I mean, just see what Mainland did. What was it, two years ago as an 8 seed? They were so tough, and I mean, they were an 8 seed for a reason from the regular season. But it just showed you how deep the CAL was that year. But going to your point, where there was, when I first moved back here in 2006, there were a lot of guys that were being recruited Division II, Division One, and of course, Wildwood Catholic had that strong teams there for a couple of years. But they might not be Division One recruits right now, as much as Again, I have to point to they're going somewhere with some kind of sport,
Mhm.
and um, it might not be basketball. Basketball is kind of cruel when it comes to getting a scholarship. You have
Right.
to have some kind of transcendent athleticism, shot, whatever size. Um, but many of these guys are going to play at another level in another sport, and that that competitiveness certainly carries over into the basketball season. You know, look, when a football team wins a state championship by 50 some points or whatever it was,
Yeah.
those guys are a team of winners, and they're winners in three seasons of sports. And that Ocean City has it at times, and Middle has it at times, and there's a lot of that amongst the CAL.
Mhm. So just to kind of put a bow on that, you mentioned the team aspect, and I know the prime example this year was Mainland's football team and how they went undefeated, won the state title, and just basically just dominated their way through the entire schedule. And I'll circle it back to your depth point about your team this year. 12 guys deep. You could play 9 to 10 a night, if not all 12 in a night. To build off of last year, do you feel like the way your team is built, depth-wise, the camaraderie amongst your team, and these guys just coming together and have been playing together for a couple of years now, is that basically the best way now to say this is how we make a deep run? It's not necessarily, sometimes teams can just rely on one or two players, but do you feel like the way your team is built now is the best way to win a conference title and maybe make a run and win a South Jersey title as well?
I mean, I'm certainly for it.
Mhm.
The idea that if someone were to get sick or hurt or something like that, and you got someone sticking right in there. Last year we had that a little bit with
Mhm.
replacing Arch Lawler, but this year I think we have it a little bit more. If your question is asking me, would I like to have some Division One players? I would certainly like to. I've never coached a Division One player, but it would be fun. But all kidding aside, this team I really like. I think they genuinely like each other,
Mhm.
and I also genuinely think that they bought into what we're doing with getting them in and out, being positive, reminding them that they have to do these things because we do lack some height, and but that's okay. And I'm actually really excited about this team, and it's a challenge, and it's one of my favorite things about coaching.
Scott Holden with me here on Cal One-on-One on Cape Atlantic Live. Coach, I believe you guys open up, correct me if I'm wrong, on December 16th against Hamilton at home. They come in for the season opener. Is that correct?
It's in the Ocean City Tom Williams tip off.
That's right. Okay, so I just wanted to clarify that as well. But again, Hamilton opens up. Just real quick, your thoughts on the Blue Devils opening up with them this season.
Uh, So, obviously, Joe Martino does a great job and has for, I want to say he's the third longest tenured coach in the CAL right now. And he's got a heck of a point guard and several other nice key pieces. It's going to be a battle. I'm looking forward to it. It's always fun, again, going up against these guys. I've got a good friendship with Joe, and, we're looking forward to it. And, so that's what's going to happen on Saturday.
Well, I'm excited to see if you guys can actually go 12 deep on Saturday. That'd be quite the unique thing to see. As I know a lot of these high school teams only go about 5 to 7 deep. Sometimes the entire starting lineups out there the entire game. So looking forward to seeing you guys play this year, Coach. Appreciate the time as always. Good luck this year. Hope to see you guys make a big run. And obviously, hope to see you down in Lower Cape May in your home gym. I know it's one of the better environments down in South Jersey.
Thank you, and again, thank you for having me. And good luck to the rest of the coaches and players this season.
Absolutely. Scott Holden with me right here on Cal 101, presented by Ulmer's Appliance Service right here on Cape Atlantic Live.